Welcome back to Montreal by night. I am in an internal debate with myself. But I'm gonna try to keep my brain away from that by having a chocolate cake. From freaking McDonald's. And talking about Alfred Benezri and his supporters. The shepherds of Cain are concerned about the future of their city. Under either Archbishop Valles or Ezekiel. Their candidate, retired Inquisitor Alfred Benezri, has therefore stepped forward and begun gathering supporters. The backing of the librarians gives Alfred the support of scholars and philosophers, but he also has the backing of the Queens of Mercy. Did you know they're the group, I believe, from the 80s to be the Sisters of Mercy? I discovered them not so long ago. The shepherds of Cain, the world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil. Crushed. Why do men then now not rect his rod? Gerard Manley Hopkins, God's Grandeur, Delusion of Grandeur. They're pretty good chocolate cakes. Largely responsible for the shape of Montreal's vampiric community. The Shepherds of Cain were created in 1691 by a group of Jesuit missionaries who were embraced by Louis Levasseur and Marianne Gibrac, the two French toreador anti-tribus who lived in Ville-Marie wanted to see how missionary fervor would survive the creation rites. Three feathers emerged from their grave, but not until a month had passed. Taking the names Ignace, Frère Michel, and Frère Antoine, they claimed to have gained the will to emerge from the frozen soil after sharing a vision of Cain. They said that the third mortal had been exiled so he could experience the darkness of his deeds and find the lights of salvation in himself. A lesson lost on most of his children. From this vision, the path of nocturnal redemption was born. The fathers have also claimed to have sensed a demonic presence on the island. Guarding against his pestilence was one of the top priorities of the new covenant they formed. The shepherds became the moral art of Ville-Marie and Montreal's Sabbath community, and they sent out missionaries to spread their path. The relations these envoys established became the foundation of the Litany of Blood. When a Camarilla facade was imposed on the city in 1760, the shepherds recognized Prince Strathcona as a potential ally and slowly drew him into the Sabbats. In 1804, Priscus Gustav Malenhaus, knowing of the shepherds' expertise in guarding against demonic forces, came to them for aid in establishing the Sabbat Inquisition. The Coven has maintained ties to the crusade against infernalism ever since. By 1837, Strathcona was a full-fledged Sabbath sympathizer. The shepherds, wanting him to join the sect, outright held inside a populist French-Canadian revolt that brought British troops to the city and Camarilla envoys to replace the wayward prince. After the Sabbath's victory, Strathcona broke all ties with his old sect. Soon after these rebellions, Ignace was sainted, departed from this world, and became the most honored of the All Saints. Shaken by its leader's departure, the Coven fell into confusion. Ignace's most loving child, Sœur Jeanne, refused to return to her duties as the head of the Inquisition, and Sœur Marianne, the keeper of the Litany, left the city forever. After a period of adjustment, the Coven adopted a form of cooperative leadership, and the priesthood of the Coven has things passed among the eldest of the shepherds. Of the current members, Frère Marc, Itzhak, and Alfred Benezri have also served as leader. In 1910, the shepherds with the librarian and Archbishop Strathcona achieved a great victory. They staged the Conference of Caen concurrently with the Mortal Eucharist Conference, a meeting of the Sabbath's wisest scholars and thinkers. The supposedly apolitical gathering brought together members of rival factions. Many remember it as the beginning of the end of the Sabbath Civil War. Confusing? Yes. It was soon after that Sœur Jeanne's politicized Inquisition was destroyed, and although the shepherds lost a direct link to power in the sect, the Reformed Inquisition still valued the Coven's cooperation and expertise. Zhu, a Taoist shepherd, was recently destroyed while serving as a judge inquisitor. Shepherd dominion over Montreal has become strained in the last 30 years. In the 1970s, a hidden invasion of Asian cities occurred. The Coven agreed to support the Serpent of Light Sangre in his effort to defeat his brethren. When Archbishop Véronique Lacruelle disappeared, the shepherds supported Sangre's assumption of leadership. The Serpent ruled well and largely left the Coven to pursue its own objectives. However, the shepherds were appalled and embarrassed when Sangre's infernalism was exposed, and they were forced to accept the imposition of Sovereign Archbishop Carina Valles. The arrival of Ezekiel as the Coven worried that he will transform the city into a New York, and that the Black Ants, well-known animosity for the Inquisition, will be directed toward them. To avoid this, Alfred Benezri has introduced as a candidature for the archdiocese The coven hopes to return Montreal to its stable days during which the coven flourished. The shepherds believe that Montreal's infernal taint was destroyed with Sangri and are now trying to expand their theology to the Camarilla. These attempts are extremely covert, and the coven has not wavered from its loyalty to the Sabbath. The shepherds hope that their path can find adherents in the other sect and prove an effective way of leading more child of Cain to salvation. Ugh, 12 minutes. I'm really not in the mood tonight. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do much more. In the 1920s, the shepherd moved from their lair in Old Montreal to the newly constructed crypt of Saint Joseph's Oratory. Finished in 1955, the oratory was built at the foot of Montreal in honor of Frère André, a mortal holy man who was responsible for miraculous healing in the early part of the century. André seemed to be able to channel the faith that flows in Montreal, and the shepherds hoped to embrace him as the successor to Saint Ignace. He refused and was allowed to die peacefully before the eyes of the coven member Frère Marc. Frère Marc. Is that? Frère Jacques. Duh. Anyway, the holy man's heart, beating slowly in a vat of vampiric vitae, remains on display in a dark alcove of the oratory, and it still has a potent connection to the face of the city. The secret room in the shepherd's crypt form a circular network. The central chamber serves as the prayer chamber when it lies beneath the resting place of Frère André. Can't believe I got that Frère Marc so confused with Frère Jacques. The Feast of Twelfth Night. The shepherds have developed several rituals and customs that are linked to their belief in nocturnal redemption. Common Sabbath rituals are practiced with a religious flair, and sermons of Cain are especially popular when linked with teaching from Saint Ignace the Martyr. Every January on 12th night, oh, my eyes are closing again. I'm struggling to pay attention. The shepherds gather in the Hall of Hallows Saint to mark the anniversary of Ignace's embrace. After an evening of prayers and sermons, the coven perform the Vaudeville. On rare occasions, Saint Ignace's form has been known to cry tears of blood. The tears are added to the Vaudeville cup to cause revelation in the drinkers. It is also traditional for the coven to embrace enlightened mortals and put them through the creation rites in one of several special nearby mausoleums. In the early hours of the morning, the coven goes to the Temple of Eternal Whispers to a hold of blood feast from the city's vampires, victimizing corrupt mortal whom they have singled out. Yeah, 15 minutes. Oh, do I want to do you Alfred Benezri? Did I do at least one page? Kind of. No, yeah, I've just done one. Oh, it's been a struggle, I'm sorry. I think I can do Alfred Benezri. The poet of the night, Alfred Benezri is the most prominent of the shepherds and the covenant's candidate for the archdiocese. Benezri was embraced in Damascus in the 1760s by Montreal, an enigmatic figure who claimed to be the child of a shepherd missionary fleeing the dark master of the Syrian night after that destroyed his sire. Alfred made his way to Montreal. Ignace accepted him as a student despite his alien Sunni Muslim heritage. A political pragmatist, Alfred was the first to suggest a system of rotating leadership after Ignace's sentencing. He also helped to hammer out the format of the modern Inquisition with the Black and Dominion Judean. The efforts led to the sacrifice of Sir Jane, the shepherds who led the First Inquisition, but allowed the convent to weather the closing days of the Sabbath Civil War. A poet, a statesman, Alfred seeks to understand the Almighty through the melody of words. During his dark tides, he tortures mortals to record their dying utterances, but he most often composes based on his own dreams. The Arab and Iranian population that have grown in Montreal since the 1960s provide him with an audience, and he feeds predominantly from those people. A judge inquisitor from 1964 to 1981 and a knight inquisitor until 1993, Alfred has escaped much of the backlash against the shepherds due to their support to the infernalist Sangre. He hoped to continue his pursuit of enlightenment, but has found himself the only viable candidate to take control of the city. He is already one of Montreal's bishops. Benezri is a tall man and with dark skin. His eyes are piercing blue. He has a goatee and short black hair. Alfred wears quality clothes from the Middle East, typically robes and made of silk. You are haunted by your responsibilities. You put up the front of a strong and competent leader to hide your melancholic heart. You are uncomfortable with the support of the Queens of Mercy because of their traditional feelings on gender relations. Secrets. Alfred is suspicious of De Soto, whose retirement to isolation after the trial Sangre supported many in the Inquisition. So he's from the clan Panda.